welcome to Combat Society. We're sitting here the day after UFC 231 that was in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It was a double header. Max Holloway was fighting Brian Ortega, defending the featherweight title, as well as the recently vacated women's flyweight title was also on the line between Valentina Shevchenko and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. My name's Madison, and this is Tyrone. We're first going to break down that first featherweight title fight. What a spectacular performance from Max Holloway, and he showed once again that he really is one of the best in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Max put on a real masterclass, a real clinic, dominated the entire fight. Brian didn't have an answer for the striking, and his wrestling wasn't at the level that would be able to take Max to the ground. A key stat that I was really following before this fight started was the takedown accuracy of Brian Ortega, which was 14%, and a takedown defense rate of 84% for Max Holloway. And I knew that would be a huge factor in this fight. As Brian Ortega started to get lit up with shots, and he was copying a lot of shots early in the first round, Max was taunting him, showing off, and I knew when Max started landing the strikes, it would be too late for Brian to shoot for takedowns, and that's what happened. When Brian was shooting for takedowns, he wasn't able to land them, and Max broke it up and continued to strike. And the fourth round, end of the fourth round, it was a doctor's stoppage. Brian's face was messed up bad, and he couldn't continue. And it was good that they stopped it, because if Brian was allowed to continue, he would have copped even more damage. He's such a young guy; he doesn't need to cop that damage. Max showed that he's clearly better, and Max is going to move on to even better things now.
Yeah, Brian Ortega was not fit to continue in the fifth round. He looked beat up. He was getting just destroyed by Max Holloway. Clearly, the striking was on a new level. Coming into this fight, we thought Brian Ortega was going to maybe get it to the ground or find a clinch where he can submit Max Holloway, because he has the far better jiu-jitsu. But we've known that Brian Ortega doesn't really take it to the ground. He finds those ways against Cub Swanson, against all of the guys before, Renato Moicano. He's just found a way to get it. And throughout that time, he's also been working on his striking.
Yep.
And we saw against Frankie Edgar that he put out a guy who's never been finished, and he looked impressive, and that was giving fans the impression that his striking is on another level. But we saw Max Holloway just better than everybody, and his striking is way better than Brian Ortega's, and proved now that he is the best featherweight in the world, undoubtedly, and he's chasing Jose Aldo's legacy to be the best featherweight ever.
And also on that note, Brian Ortega coming out with a real strike-heavy game plan. That's the kind of false confidence you get when you really put on performances with your striking. When you know your base is grappling, when you know you're the best at grappling, and you want to continue with your striking, that could be a detriment. And we've seen that with countless fighters. The one off the top of my head that I can remember is Ronda Rousey. When you have that false sense of security, you come up against somebody who's a real killer like Max Holloway. He's not gonna let up on you, and he's not gonna give you any chances. And that's what we saw. We saw a complete domination, pushing the pace. Brian couldn't keep up with the pace. He did rally in the second round, and I thought that Brian was still really dangerous in that second round. He was landing some strikes, hitting Max clean with them, but Max also returning strikes. And I thought this is still dangerous. Until we got into that third round, Max really started to unload and really starting to push it for the finish. I still always thought that Brian still had a chance to get a lucky knockout. And also a couple of instances where Brian had him almost in back mount and was trying to sink in a rear naked choke, but Max was too quick. He got up.
Yeah, there was one point where he got his back almost, and then he got out.
And my prediction was Max. So when I was seeing that, I was thinking, wow, this could really be the end of the fight here, because we know that Brian can finish you on the ground from anywhere. His fundamental jiu-jitsu is out of this world, and those fundamental submissions he's very good at. The rear naked chokes, the guillotines, the arm bars. He can finish them from anywhere. And I thought that could have been the end of the fight, but Max rallied back and got the win.
All credit to Max Holloway, the champion. But Brian Ortega as well, showing tremendous heart in this performance. He got hit with so many strikes, the most significant strikes ever in a fight, in a UFC fight. I think it was in excess of 200-300, something like that.
I think it was 307.
Could have been normal strikes though, just regular strikes.
307 strikes, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, total strikes, yeah.
But he got the most significant strikes as well. So
Yep.
he got a lot of strikes on Brian Ortega, eating them all on the chin. And it didn't even look like Brian Ortega was getting rocked by these strikes. They were just hitting his chin and he was taking them all. That's that Mexican heart he's got. And Brian Ortega will perfect his striking. Hopefully works on the wrestling, because if he can get it to the ground, I'm sure he can submit a lot of people. That should be his game plan. Strike, wrestle, get it to the ground,
Yep.
and submit his opponent.
Yeah, I think that is the correct game plan. Would be to go invest in your wrestling a bit more, because your striking is very good and it's good enough to knock out anybody in the division except for Max. But if you really work that wrestling, if you really put the time into getting that wrestling game polished, he'll be able to take any fight to the ground, and once it gets to the ground, he can submit anybody in that division.
For sure. If we look at the recently vacated women's flyweight title showdown between Valentina Shevchenko and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, this was a fight in which Shevchenko came out and showed that she really is a class fighter. She has better skills than Joanna, and she finally got her hands on UFC gold. Obviously, in the fight between Nico Montano and Valentina Shevchenko, that never materialized. She didn't get a chance at getting that title, and now she did, and she capitalized completely, got the title, showed she's a better fighter than Joanna, and it raises questions whether Joanna should not be at this weight, and maybe she should go back down.
Yeah, coming into this fight, I had Joanna favored, but that was simply because of the fact that the main advantage I saw on Joanna's side was the championship caliber experience that Valentina just didn't have. But coming into the fight, they're walking out into the octagon, Valentina looked way bigger, even though they have got similar attributes in terms of height and reach. Valentina just looked leaner with more muscle, and that proved in the fight because she was way stronger in the grappling, and it looked like the striking difference was greater for Valentina, outlanding her. The leg kicks were brutal, and then mixing it up with the grappling also.
She's just a scarier opponent, really.
I think so.
She looked scarier. She's bigger, more muscular, and she just put on that performance against one of the best women's fighters of all time, and Shevchenko wants to defend regularly.
Well, that's what she said in the post-fight press conference, that she doesn't want to be one of those champions that wins and then takes 6 months to a year off and does their whole victory lap thing and is not too interested, just wants to show off the belt. She doesn't want to do that. She wants to get right back in there and fight everybody and prove that she is the best women's fighter that we've ever seen. And that's really good to see.
And she has a really well-rounded skill set. She has very crisp Muay Thai. She's a traditional martial artist as well. She mixes up Muay Thai with Kyokushin, and she has great grappling as well. She took down Joanna pretty much at will, doing a vast variety of takedowns, and she got a unanimous decision win, even though Joanna, towards the end, hustled a little bit and maybe won a round there.
Yeah, I would say she did pick it up, and because early in the fight, Joanna she looked very hesitant, she looked very nervous, a bit. She had a hitch to her step, but as the fight went on, Joanna started to become more comfortable, but it seemed like it was too late. It would seem like the leg kicks from Valentina had taken a toll. It was prohibiting the movement of Joanna, and this, even though she did rally, it was a bit too late, and Valentina got the win. Now, what's next for Joanna? As you said at the start, is she right for this weight class? I don't know. Maybe she'd have to go back down and possibly fight some of the contenders there and hopefully get another title shot. That would probably be her best option. I think these flyweights are maybe a bit too big for her. They're a bit too strong. Maybe the best thing for her is to go back down to strawweight and rack some wins together and go from there. We don't know what her contract's like. Maybe a new promotion's on the cards as well. We just don't know. We're just going to have to see.
Yeah, she seems a bit small for the division, so I'd like to see her go back to strawweight. But the fight before this was a welterweight clash between two really good jiu-jitsu fighters. Gunnar Nelson, obviously, I believe he's placed in ADCC, which is, if you don't know, one of the best no-gi grappling tournaments that there is, and he placed in that. He's known to be one of the best grapplers that we've seen in the UFC, as well as Cowboy Oliveira, who is very crafty with his striking, and his jiu-jitsu is very dangerous as well. But Gunnar Nelson, in the second round, he got mount, and he landed unreal elbow strikes, which opened up a massive gash on Cowboy Oliveira's forehead. And it was like seeing a crime scene, because it was coming out pretty radically.
Yeah, absolutely. The start of that fight, it looked like Oliveira had the advantage, but then the second round came around, and Gunnar got top full mount, and then landed a nasty elbow that hit him right on the tip of the elbow, in between the eyes, and split him open. But it didn't look that bad. It looked bad, but it didn't look as bad as when Gunnar Nelson got the back and sunk in the rear naked choke. And once he got the squeeze on his neck, the blood, literally the pressure of it, started pushing the blood out of his head and spurting it out. And then the referee stopped the fight before the tap, because there was no way. It was just too much blood coming out, and had to stop it. Yeah,
if you actually look at that photo of him putting in the rear naked choke, and you can see all the blood on Oliveira's face. That photo on Facebook is graphic content. You have to click allow graphic content, because it's really graphic. It's really disgusting to see his face completely covered. It's like Rory McDonald stuff. Like it was probably worse. It was so bad.
Yep.
And the referee had to stop that after seeing it.
Yeah, even if the rear naked choke wasn't there, I think the fight was going to be stopped anyway, because the amount of blood coming out, no Vaseline is going to be able to stop that bleeding. He would have gone back even if he survived the round, he would have gone back to the corner. Doctor would have come and stopped the fight, because there's no way to stop that bleeding. That's huge amounts of blood loss.
Would die from that kind of blood loss.
That's right. If you keep that going, you're going to bleed out for sure. So the referee made the correct decision there. The choke was sunk in anyway. No point leaving it. And Gunnar Nelson got a great win.
Yeah, Gunnar Nelson is a welterweight which in his last fight, he lost to Santiago Ponzinibbio, but Gunnar Nelson possesses a skill set which is very well-rounded, has that karate, Lyoto Machida type in and out, similar to Conor McGregor early days, and a very threatening ground game. He can get it to the ground, and he can do damage from the ground. He's not just like a jiu-jitsu fighter. He can do damage from the ground. He can really hurt you, and he can just dominate you in that position. Like Davey Ramos, we've seen how his jiu-jitsu, he could just really make you look silly in those positions. So if he gets some consistency, trains more with Conor, and improves his striking, gets everything together, he can really be at the top of the welterweight and contest some guys like Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. Yeah,
that's the thing with Gunnar. He's got the skill sets that can really take him to a championship, but the only thing that he's missing is the consistency, because he's got a nice striking game. We know his grappling's crazy. So if he can just find the consistency, he can contend. But I haven't got an answer for how to fix a guy's consistency. It's a mystery to a lot of people how to find that consistency. A lot of fighters do have well-rounded skill sets. We're looking at Donald Cerrone, Gunnar Nelson. As we mentioned last week, we're talking about Tyson Pedro, who I believe has some of the best skills in light heavyweight division, but just can't find the consistency. Now, if these guys can find consistency, they can win against anybody.
Yeah. If we look at the fight before that, Hakeem Dawodu versus Kyle Bochniak. We know Kyle Bochniak from versing Zabit. We've talked a lot of people have been talking about Zabit, and Kyle stuck in there with him and showed a lot of heart. But Hakeem Dawodu possesses a great fundamental striking Muay Thai background and put on a great performance where he schooled Bochniak, stopped everything he was doing, read him, and that was considered a split decision by the judges, but everyone who was watching saw that was a unanimous decision. Like, it was 30-27 for two referees, and then one gave it 28-29 to Kyle Bochniak, or 29-28 to Bochniak. So we don't know what he was seeing, but that was clearly a unanimous decision. He's Canadian and Nigerian, so he really put on a great performance for his home crowd, and they want to really promote this guy in Canada and become that next guy.
Yeah, for sure. It's a pay-per-view card, a good showing.
Main event.
Main card.
Sorry.
Outstruck the guy. Showed great takedown defense. Put on a really perfect performance. As you said, I don't know how I don't know how it was a split decision. Hakeem did everything right. Won every round clearly. And we can't wait to see what this guy can bring, because he's shown that he has an elite striking game, and his takedown defense is there also. So they're the two ingredients you need to really push up the rankings. Having great takedown defense, and also having an elite striking game. That's a formula that a lot of fighters follow and get great success with.
And there's a lot of good featherweights that he can match up against in his next fight after beating Karl Bochniak. So the featherweight division is really good. We've also got Chad Mendes with Volkanovski, which is on the main card for UFC 233, I believe it is. And so he could fight a lot of people. He's 9-1 in the UFC. In his whole career, his professional career. So there's a lot going for him. If we look at the first fight before this, first fight on the main card, what a fight, really. It was two guys with extreme power. Thiago Santos coming off 4 wins out of his last 5 matches. And Jimmy Manuwa, obviously we know him, knockout power. And Thiago Santos got the win once again. This was a brutal contest. Just guys throwing heavy leather, and it was ridiculous. That first round was one of the best rounds one of the most exciting rounds we've ever seen, probably.
Yeah, for sure. It's what a great fight. 2 heavy hitters throwing heat from the bell, and there can only be one result when that happens, and that's what happened. Thiago Santos got the win, second round knockout. There's not much more to say. It was a slugfest, and one person came out victorious. And when you play that game, it's a risky game, and it's not necessarily one guy's better than the other. It's just could be just a situation of one guy got luckier than the other guy.
But Thiago Santos has been coming up more often than not, victorious against these guys when he throws big punches. He's going to be someone to watch out for in the light heavyweight division, because we know the light heavyweights being, we know how it is.
Absolutely.
It's not huge, but Thiago Santos, when he gets into the mix, if he versus a top 10 guy now, he had his light heavyweight debut in his last fight against Eric Anders. We know he was a middleweight, but they were both going up. So Thiago Santos has now put on 2 impressive performances in the light heavyweight division, and that's put the rest of the light heavyweight division on notice.
Yeah, I think so too. And the light heavyweight division does have a lot of dangerous guys, like Thiago Santos, Jimmy Manuwa, also Anthony Smith. These guys are dangerous. They're dangerous guys.
But he also has a good, well-rounded skill set in that he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. We've actually seen him take people down, and he's very skillful on the ground. He's scary when it gets to the ground, because his ground and pound is so scary.
Yep.
You ever watch his ground and pound? It is tremendous. It's very dangerous and clinical.
Yeah, I think so. And we want to see what Thiago Santos can do. This is a new move to light heavyweight. He's going to fight some more guys. We're going to see how good he really is.
Yeah, we will. Next week, though, UFC on Fox, Milwaukee, Lee versus Al Quinta, Kevin Lee versus Al Quinta 2. We know Al Quinta got the victory in their last fight, which was, I don't know how many years ago. It was a long time ago. But that's next week, and that's an interesting lightweight fight, because the winner of these fights, this fight will be up there. They'll just be projected into not that this category. They'll just be into that next higher level category where it's like the Dustin Poiriers, those kind of guys, and it'll be Justin Gaethje's. They'll be getting a better opportunity from this fight. Will really lift them up.
Well, we'll bring that card up just quickly. Kevin Lee, he's sort of already there. He's in the mix. He's been considered for title shots already. He's in the mix. I would say he's there with the Tony Fergusons. He's there with the Poiriers.
You reckon after he lost to Tony Ferguson by submission?
I still think he is, because, and the only reason I say that is because he runs his mouth, and that's what keeps him relevant. He talks.
But it's a crucial win. One of these guys has to get the win. They need a win.
Kevin has to win.
Whoever loses this is really going to drop down and be almost forgotten, really, if they lose
a little bit. Kevin Lee benefits from the win more because he's right there. He's right there. Al Quinta, he's not too active. So him winning is not going to put him into a title shot. He's not going to get a title shot next. He probably will have to fight another 2 times if he wins this fight to get a title shot. He's not in the mix, really. Winning here is really good for his stock, but
it could be a winner here gets Dustin, because
yep,
it's hard to think about who's next there, because Kevin Lee lost to Tony, so that's not going to happen. Yeah,
Yep.
That's not happening. So Dustin isn't getting a title shot. I don't feel like he's getting a title shot.
I don't think so, no.
So Dustin's like that next guy.
Yeah.
He's got to fight somebody just coming up, like some guy who's good and who's just coming up. And I think that's one of these two.
Yeah.
I feel like that could really be one of these two.
Well, think about this, just to go off the card a little bit, of this Fox Sports card. When you look at the lightweight division, think about how crazy it is right now, how uncertain it is, how much stuff's going on. We've got the champion is in trouble with the Nevada State Athletic Commission.
Yep.
Same as Conor McGregor, who's the number 1 contender. Then you've got guys like Poirier, Nate Diaz. We don't know what Nate Diaz is doing. Now they're saying Max Holloway is going to come up to lightweight. These guys, it's not very clear what's going on in that division. There's a lot of excitement going on in that division.
Yeah.
A lot of uncertainty. Now, I can't wait for that to all fizzle out and we see what's going on, because there's a lot of possibilities here. We got Nate can fight anybody. Conor can fight anybody. These guys have potential matchups with
Nate's
each other.
not fighting with one of these guys.
And then you also add into the mix of that, you've got a potential 165-pound division, adding into the mix with that. So you look at it this way: you've got the featherweight champion who wants to come, who could possibly come into lightweight. The lightweight champion is not active, or who can't fight. The number 1 contender can't fight. They all want to fight at 165, but that division's not.
Tony can fight.
Tony can fight. But the 165 division is not confirmed. But everybody wants to fight at that division, because if they make a 165, you can
Dustin versus Conor for the 165.
You can bet that Nate's going there. You can bet that Kevin Lee's going there. You can bet that Conor's going there. Khabib might stay. He might fight. Max will come up. He'll fight Khabib. There's a lot going on in that division, but not a lot of fights. So this week's going to be really good to see to sort of sort a little bit of it out, and we're going to see.
And there's 2 other lightweight matchups here. We know Edson Barbosa versus Dan Hooker is a really good fight.
Yep.
Even Kevin Lee beat Edson Barbosa in his last fight. But Dan Hooker, we know, trains at City Kickboxing with Israel Adesanya. Knocked out Gilbert Burns in his last fight. Outstanding knockout. You got to watch that. It is a crazy knockout. Beat Gilbert Burns, and now he's got Edson Barbosa. Another test. Dan Hooker's only winning. Edson Barbosa is kind of inconsistent. So these are another 2 guys who will be there, with maybe versing Pettis next because he lost, or Justin Gaethje. It's a very good division, very good fighters.
Yeah, and it's exciting as well. What they say about how they say the light heavyweight division might be dead or anything like that is because look at the lightweight division. You've got a lot of really talented guys, but also have personalities. They also have a lot of personality and a lot of rumors and a lot of drama and a lot of talk around them. Not just about how they fight, but their personalities add to that as well. And that's what makes a division exciting, especially when there's so many variables, as I said. But this weekend's going to be a great card. We're going to be watching it, and I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and we also got confirmation. Well, we don't know if it's really confirmation because it's Dana White. We don't trust him, but after UFC 231 post-fight press conference, Dana White basically confirmed that Nick Diaz will be fighting Jorge Masvidal. He said that fight's on, as far as he knows. And if I was to give my opinion on that fight, even though it's a long time away, I'll give a really early prediction on that. I would say that Nick Diaz is just a little bit. He's a lot better cardio there, and he's just a little bit more talented. And I feel like Nick Diaz will get that victory.
Yeah, I always favor the Diaz brothers highly because one of the most important factors in fighting is your cardio, and Nick and Nate, especially Nick, they got cardio for days. They can go 5 rounds, 6 rounds, 7 rounds. They can go forever. And we know that Jorge Masvidal is not always the most committed. We know he doesn't always put in the most.
Some people would say that about Nick though, because he hasn't fought in 4 years.
So he hasn't fought in 4 years, but we know for a fact with Nick, he's in there doing triathlons. We know that. We know he's on the triathlon circuit. We know he's rolling jiu-jitsu at his academy every day. We know that. We know he's training his young fighters, Cron Gracie, Gilbert Melendez, all these guys. The Cesar Gracie team. We know he's training those guys every day.
Cron Gracie just is a killer. So they're training with really good guys.
And we know Jorge Masvidal is coming off a reality show. So how committed is he there? Also, the fact that Jorge Masvidal is not disciplined sometimes on fight week. He has been known to be eating Big Macs in a fight camp and in fight week.
We've seen that.
And missing
but that's
weight
what he always does. He always does that.
And that's the thing. He always does that, but that's the reason why he's never really got to that elite level yet. He's never got to that elite level. And that's a huge factor. He's not disciplined. He's a fun guy. He likes to muck around. He doesn't like to take it too serious. But when you're going up against a guy like Nick Diaz, the only people who beat Nick Diaz and Nate are the guys who really invest the time and really study their opponent and come out with a really good game plan to win.
What
you
I
can't
would
just
say,
go in there and walk off the street and not care and beat Nick. You just can't do it.
What I would say is that because we know he's best friends with Colby Covington, he should be with Colby Covington every day. We know he obviously trains together, so he's got to be with him every day training wrestling, and his strategy has to be to take him down and hold him there. That's it.
Nick?
No, Jorge. Jorge should take Nick down and hold him there. He should be his plan. I don't think he beats him in the striking. I think learn something from Colby Covington, press him against the cage, and that would be your only chance of winning, in my opinion. I think Jorge Masvidal wants to be better than he is. And he should want to apply the correct game plan here and just take, because that's how people beat Nick. They take him down. They grind. They don't want to like stand with him. They don't want to take those volume punches. They want to get him to the ground and hold him there. But you need not to let him.
But also, I don't really agree with that point because how are you going to take Nick down? The guy's crazy off his back. He's so dangerous off his back. He's one of the most dangerous guys off his back. This guy throws up triangles, arm bars, go-go platas. He throws up crazy stuff. You need to be a proficient wrestler. You need to be a guy who's wrestled your whole career to be able to take Nick down and hold him, because otherwise he's just going to submit you. Yeah. And Jorge Masvidal is not the type of guy that's going to just start taking people down.
You have to grind him against the cage. You have to do all these tactics, pressure, and see if he breaks. But he's unlikely to because we know how good his cardio is. That's why you don't strike with him, because you're going to be out cardioed, out volumed. All these things are going to happen to you, and you're going to realize pretty soon that you just can't match his volume, and you're going to be getting more strikes than you're giving to him. So if you better train with Colby a lot. You better get everything from him, and we know Colby's a great wrestler. Jorge Masvidal doesn't have the best wrestling. So
I think his correct game plan would be get your striking crisp for Jorge, get your striking crisp, and hope for a knockout, because you're not going to go 5 rounds of just trading punches with Nick. You get your striking crisp, try and practice your kicks, try and go for a head kick knockout or something like that. That would be the only way to win. I think going to the ground with Nick is suicide, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
next, what's up? What do we got?
Well, next up is we're going to talk about Max Holloway and his potential matchups that he's got.
Okay. Max Holloway potential matchups. Well, they've been talking Dana's been talking like he wants to push him up to 155. He says he can't make the weight, but Max did prove that he did make the weight, made it easily, was very healthy during the cut. 155 is still a great choice for him, even then. He's got a lot of matches there. But the only two that I reckon he would take would be Khabib, because we know he wants to fight Khabib. He will fight Khabib. He's not scared of Khabib's wrestling. He doesn't care. He took that fight the first time on 1 week notice. So
you have to take those fights. So when those opportunities come, you have to take those fights. That is a chance to, as we've talked about before, transcend the sport, become one of the biggest names in the sport, and potentially win, have 2 titles.
But I think the best fight for him also is Conor McGregor. That'd be a great fight. It's probably going to be more money, and you get a chance to avenge a loss. And then, so you avenge that loss, and then you come back and maybe fight Khabib after that. But you also have some possible title defense. Even though he has cleaned out the featherweight division, you have some possible title defenses as well. So Max is a guy like Conor McGregor now. You have a lot of options. And when you have options, you become a very happy guy, and more money will come your way. So he has a lot of options, and can't wait to see.
It's just hard because Max Holloway's, as you said, he's cleaned out the division. So who's he got to fight? Either lightweight. It's Conor is a great matchup because of avenging the loss. But he never got finished by Conor. He was only like one of the only guys that Conor could never finish.
Yeah.
So to fight Conor would be a really good fight. But Khabib is also there. Tony's there. Dustin's there. There's a lot of people. Dustin could end up, let's say Conor versus Dustin happens at 165, like we talked about, and let's say Dustin wins. Then there's Dustin there. There's so many people in the picture. That Max Holloway is so young and he has so much to look forward to in his career. He's becoming one of the best featherweights of all time. As he said, he's trying to chase Jose Aldo's legacy to be the best featherweight of all time. He could end up being lightweight champ. He could be the double champ. He
has possibility to become a triple champ because he's a big guy.
Fight.
Max walks around at 200 pounds. He's big and he walks around at 200 pounds. So
maybe he's fitter. Maybe he's healthier that way. Maybe he's stronger, and people can't.
He has expressed that he doesn't want to. The thing is, he doesn't want to leave the featherweight division because he knows somebody's going to come in and take and obviously become the champion because he's going to have to relinquish his title. He doesn't want that. He wants that featherweight championship. He works so hard for it. He wants to keep it. Now, going up in weight and winning. Going up in weight and winning is the same thing like Conor. Going up in weight and then winning. The incentive to go back down because it was so hard. You're like, I can just fight at 155 now. It's much easier for me.
But he's still growing though. So we have to remember, he's probably still growing a little bit, and he could be naturally a lightweight. He could be naturally even heavier.
Probably is naturally a lightweight.
So that could be better for him, and we just never know. But the time will tell to see where he's at. I'm sure he will want to get a second title because he's all about legacy.
Yep.
He's all about fighting those big fights and taking the chances when they're there. So there's some big money fights for him.
I think so.
Now we're going to look at some of the comments that we've seen online. We grab some comments every so often, every week, to see what people are thinking, and we just discuss them on the forums, on Reddit. We'll get into that right now. The first comment, you'll like this one. Only Zabit has a slim chance of beating Max at featherweight. Max has cleaned out the division pretty good. What do we think of Zabit? We've seen Zabit a little bit, not too much in the UFC, but everyone loves to hype up Zabit like he's the next gift from God. Zabit, we know he's a very talented striker, and he mixes up his grappling and striking better than a lot of people really do.
Yeah.
But that's not tested against some of the best guys. So how do you feel?
That's the thing that I was going to say. He hasn't been tested against the best guys. And we don't know how good he really is until he faces those top-level guys. We said the same thing for Brian Ortega, and look what happened. He never versed somebody of Max's caliber, and Zabit has definitely not versed anybody of Max's caliber. So it's hard to say who would win that fight. Zabit is still young. He's got a lot of potential. He needs some more fights on his resume. But to say he could fight Max now and win, I would say that's a stretch. And I truly believe Max would destroy him right now.
What about Zabit in his prime?
Zabit in his prime? Well, we don't know what his prime is. That's hard, that's why I can't give you an answer on that, because I don't know how good he really is. We know he's good against guys who are average.
Yeah.
We know he has some highlight reel stuff against guys who aren't that good. But we want to see him against the top guys, and only time will tell.
Yeah. The next one. Can a Holloway versus McGregor 2 fight do similar numbers to a McGregor versus Diaz 3 fight? Let's say within 100K buys.
No, I don't think so. I think a McGregor versus Diaz 3 is the biggest money fight right now. Maybe Khabib versus Conor 2 could be a bigger money fight, but right now a feasible fight that actually could happen and will happen is a McGregor versus Diaz 3. That could be 2 million buys. Now, Max Holloway hasn't transcended the sport like Nate Diaz has yet. Nate Diaz has transcended the sport. He's a mainstream guy. A lot of people know about him. Max is not quite there yet, so I don't think he could get within 100,000. I would think so let me put it this way. I would think a Diaz versus McGregor 3 could do 2 million or 1.9 million. And I think a Conor McGregor versus Max rematch could do 1 million.
Yeah. So Max Holloway, I would go as far to say is that he's not actually a big draw. He's somewhat of a draw, but I wouldn't even think Max Holloway, especially this card that just happened in UFC 231, gets very many buys. Max Holloway just can't get those buys yet. He just will not be able to on his own. So with McGregor, he'll get a mil. Obviously, anybody will get a mil with McGregor every time McGregor fights. But Max Holloway on his own just will not get that many. So it's going to take a while. He's going to have to win. He's going to have to win a second title or something to get to that level where it's going to ever compare to McGregor versus Diaz.
Yep.
That's my view.
Yep.
The next comment. That Manawa versus Santos fight is sloppy as hell. Both fighters have zero defense, just throwing Hail Marys in the air and hoping something lands. UFC light heavyweight division is trash. Apart from DC Jones and Gus, that division is dead. Ooh, that's harsh. Some people would disagree in that light heavyweight division.
I would say it's partially true. It's partially true. They've got it's very top heavy. So DC Jones, Gus. Very top heavy. Those guys are very skilled. They're very all rounded. But when you go down, there are some guys who are sloppy, but there are also some guys who are technical also. There's a lot of dangerous guys with a lot of power, but in terms of technical guys, it's really top heavy. So I would sort of agree with that. Also, you're comparing these bottom lower ranked guys to Jones, to Gus, to DC, and when you compare anybody to those three guys, or even just Jones, really, in my opinion, everybody looks bad. Put Jones in any division at any weight, and the whole division looks bad compared to them. That's my view on it anyway. So when you compare against Jones, it's easy to say the rest of them are sloppy. That's how I feel.
Yeah, if I like to think of this division, not taking away from anything from those fighters, but it's what Connor says. It's almost stuck in the mud in terms of the lower ranked guys, the guys who are 5 to 15, in that middleweight is like a really skilled, raw athletic division, and they're just so talented. They're so muscular. They have great cardio. They've got great everything. They're just really talented fighters. Heavyweight, you're really drawn to that division because they're so heavy and big hitters, and they're just so scary, and they can basically beat anyone in the lower ranks because they're so heavy and powerful. But this light heavyweight division is in the middle, and it's like they're not as they're powerful, but they're not really as powerful, but they're also sloppy as well. Thiago Santos is a really good fighter, and I think he can be up there with those top guys, but they're just not really at that level of athleticism, and they don't mix it well. The lower guys, like with athleticism and power, and that's where it can get boring with them. Some of them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. The last comment that we have, I wonder what would have happened to Conor if he just stayed at featherweight and attempted to defend his belt as many times as possible and become the featherweight GOAT, as opposed to moving up. Feel like that would have been a much better career choice in the long run, even if the cut was bad.
So he says better career choice in the long run, but what do you mean by that? Do you mean by legacy-wise or money-wise? Because clearly the best choice for him was to move up, fight Nate Diaz twice, then fight Eddie Alvarez, then fight Mayweather, then fight Khabib. That's obviously the best financial move for him.
Yeah.
And probably the best legacy move, because I think winning winning 2 championships, even though you didn't defend either of them, I think that's better than, say, if he stayed at featherweight and defended his championship 2 or 3 times.
Hardcore fans wouldn't agree, but doing what he did is like becoming the Mike Tyson. It's like becoming that.
Yeah.
So you've changed everything.
You
Mike Tyson is not the best heavyweight boxer of all time. Conor McGregor is not the best MMA fighter of all time, but that name is just synonymous with greatness forever.
Yeah, I don't think he would have ever got to the heights or had the opportunities that he had if he just stayed in featherweight and did what everybody else does, which is defend their title. He changed the sport entirely by doing this. Going up, winning another championship, becoming a double champ, simultaneous double champ, And then now everybody's doing that now. DC's doing it.
He was the pioneer.
George St. Pierre. Now you got TJ, Henry Cejudo. He changed the game, and I think that's a better result than him staying in featherweight and doing what everybody else does.
Whether that was for better or worse, initiating the entertainment era, he did it nonetheless, and that made him a star amongst everyone in the world.
Absolutely.
And Conor McGregor, I think, did the right thing just for his legacy as a person, as a fighter, as everything. But that's all the comments that we've got. We would like you to leave your comments if you have any specific things you want us to discuss, some awesome or interesting opinions that you might have. We'll discuss it here, or we'll just find them online. It doesn't really matter. But also leave a like, subscribe, check the notification icon so you get all of our posts. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Combat Society AUS, and that's what will be posted there. But we'll see you next week after UFC on Fox Milwaukee for that great card. We'll catch you next time.